So this is our exercise 2 day. We finished turning in our composite exercise last class. That was unit 2. This is unit modules. Off of the home page is where you can find all the information about them. The links page is where you can find a link to our YouTube channel that shows those tutorials, just like the one we're recording right now. And from the home page, in order to get the full introduction to new things in the course outline, like exercise 2, unit modules is helpful for that. So if we look at our course outline and we see today is September 8th, and we see that exercise 2 is in red and it's due by tonight, right? Then what we want to do is make sure we know where to find that, and it will say right in the course outline what unit it's found in, right? And that's actually a typo. I'm just noticing that because it's unit 3. So I will correct that, even though on the ones I printed out. So many tabs. Okay, so in unit 3, this is going to introduce us, like we did at the end of Wednesday's class, to our emoji project. The only deliverable for this unit is exercise 2. And what it is we're making our own custom color emoji, which is just flat colored shapes to represent a theme that we choose. The theme that I'm going to recommend is the same theme we used for our line art jumble. So whatever kind of favorite book, comic, cartoon you use to inspire that jumble, you can now make an emoji from that same vocabulary. The demonstration as it is in the assignment is based on banned books. But you can see how it relates. And I'm going to use Popeye for mine, just like I use Popeye for my line art jumble, right? So once we actually go into the exercise, we are reminded that we're taking some concept we have. So let's say we want to do the Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers, and we want to make an emoji. So we can't make an emoji of every Avenger, but we pick what's one we want to do. Or maybe we want to do a combined Avenger emoji. So it has like the eye of Iron Man, the hair of Scarlet Witch, the face paint of Vision. I don't know. You can go on and on. However you want to do it. The difference is changing something into an emoji is turning it into a flat graphic. So that's why I include this little abominable snowman sculpture from Claymation here, or stop motion. This would be what an emoji version would look like. It's made out of flat graphic shapes filled in with 1 pixel color. That's the most basic form. Here we see that used in professional practice, in graphic design, in illustration. And we see its equivalent in art history. So in the 1960s, Andy Warhol did celebrity portraits, starting with this portrait based on the obituary photo of Marilyn Monroe after she died, and just replaced the big shapes with solid colors. Did lots and lots of different versions. And that was mimicking production art of the time, like silk screens that would go on posters or on cardboard boxes or on products. Nowadays, we use these kind of flat graphics for things like emojis, for icons, for apps, for anything that needs to be immediately recognizable. And we're going to learn the flat shape design in how we build our emoji. And then the bonus finishing will be how to turn it into flat 2.0, where you add additional texture and shadows if you want to onto those flat shapes. But the important thing is the shapes. So this is how you do it. First, you pick your theme. If you're doing a banned book theme, you can choose from here. But I think most of us kind of have a theme in mind, right? And then, as we looked at the end of last class, you're going to go to this site, which is just in the assignment. We only ever use it for this. And you have your theme in mind. My theme is going to be Popeye, because that's what I did my line art based on. So if I do an image search, I might do such a thing as look for a Popeye emoji to see if any such thing exists. And how have people kind of symbolized it? Now, it doesn't need to be Popeye itself. It could be another character like Bluto. This is pretty similar to what we'll be doing. You know, you can see the flat graphic shapes there. Here's a Popeye, flat graphic shapes. But I want mine to look a little bit differently. But it could be good to be inspired, right? Like to learn the most, you want to struggle to make it your own, fit your own taste. But to have things that inspire that is always helpful. These kind of symbols, you can see how asymmetrical the face is. And this is using existing emojis to try to represent aspects of Popeye. We're going to be more direct about it by customizing our own emojis. What we're not going to use is line art. So what's the difference between this and, where's the Bluto one? This. So this has flat pixel colored shapes, but then it has line art over the top of it, right? This is flat graphics. You'll notice there's no line art. It's all shapes layered on top of each other with a certain pixel color filling them up. And that's what we're going for. One that I found somewhere else that's not a vector emoji, but I really like the look of. So this kind of has outlines, which vectors can have, but this would be a purer form, where it's just the solid shapes, like cutouts of paper. One that I found, I put into my exercise 2 folder here, was this. And it's actually tattoo flash art, you know? But I like how odd that is. And so Popeye is going to inspire me, but also this kind of thing is going to inspire me. And I'm going to try to make it something I'm interested in myself. So the way we got started was to use this. I'm going to command minus until it's 100%. And use these limited emoji tools to get us started. So this is just showing me lots of random assortments, or I can start from scratch by just clicking here. And I built that with this guy. So that's kind of the closest I could get in the end of last class showing this. So how do we build? How do we use Emoji Maker? If you guys have done pick crews, they're very similar. You pick a base, and the base is the only one you only get one choice of. And if you can't see them, you can side scroll through them, or you can command minus until more show up, but this is all of them. And maybe this time I'll start with this base, but I chose the baby base because I liked the ears and I liked a little bit of hair on top. And I can show my inspiration. He'll have a hat, but the idea of having something on top. So maybe instead of that, I use this. Right? That could be a good base too. Next, I go to the eyes, and I know I want the eyes to be lopsided. You know, one big, one shut. That's Popeye. So there's only a few options kind of like that. But what's interesting about the eyes is you can layer them up. And whatever one you click most recently, you're like throwing that cutout on top of the pile. So if I want to take that one off, I can. If I want to get that one off, they're always highlighted in gray. I can, but if I click it again, it will go on top of the other. So I found that eye, and then I think I liked maybe this being underneath it, so it looks a little more haggard. So to get that to appear on top, I do that. So there we go. We got the eyes. Next, we're going to do the mouth. And he's got a frown, and he's got kind of kissy mouth for his chin. So I need to find those. There we go. And then accessories. So I gave him rosy cheeks. Now, if I want those to appear behind the eyes, which I do, I go back to the eyes. Remember, it's just like cutouts of paper. And I turn them on, and I turn them off, and I turn them back on, and they'll sit on top. And if I want to change the base, I can do that underneath everything. Right. But you can only have one base. And then, let's see, the other thing I added was the little emoticon there. Put those on top of that. On and on and on. And then, let's see, back to the eyes. And turn this on and off again, and this on and off again. All right, so there's my Popeye, as close as I can get. So I want you all to pick your theme. I want you all to just get started with it by building it on this site. And then I want you to export it. That's how we're going to save it from this site. You're going to download the PNG. It's going to go to your downloads folder because it's coming from the internet. And you're going to download the SVG. The difference is the PNG is a raster format, pixel-based. The SVG is what's called a scalable vector graphic. It's a vector, which is what we're learning about today. And then I'm going to teach you a third thing to do, which will give you a higher quality PNG to work from. I want you to zoom in. So I go in 400% there with Command plus until that emoji is as big as you can make it on your screen. And notice how I still can't see any pixels in that emoji. That's because these shapes on this website are vectors. So no matter how big I make it, it will be perfectly clean. But now I'm going to do what's called a targeted screen grab, which is something you need to know for this class. It's in the directions as well. You hit Command, Shift, and then 4. So it's a 3-key shortcut, Command, Shift, 4. It turns your cursor into a crosshairs that tells you what pixel of the screen you're on. And then you click and drag to choose which pixels you want to grab and make into a raster image. So I'm going to make sure I get all of mine with that gray background, and then I let go. It will show as a little preview here. Don't click it. Once it disappears, it will save to your desktop. And there it is. So I'm just going to move it to the middle of my desktop. So what have I downloaded? I've downloaded the SVG. I can move that to the desktop from my downloads folder. I've downloaded the PNG that comes from the site. You would think that would be good quality. And I've made a screen grab based on the best screen resolution I can make. Both of these are PNGs. I'm going to double click the PNG that I downloaded, that I exported from the site, and it looks like that. And it's just slightly different than this one I saved earlier. So I'm going to go with this one. Now I'm going to open, just to show you, the screen grab I made. And I want you to see that the screen grab I made is a higher quality raster image. It's sharper than the PNG that came from exporting the image. That's because these are both pixel-based. So you can see how those edges look really rough. That's because this is a lower resolution, because emojis tend to be pretty low res. You can see the pixels very clearly, whereas if I go to mine and I zoom in, it takes a lot longer for me to get to those pixels. So you can see how much cleaner one is than the other. Agreed? That's because raster images have to fill a certain number of pixels. Now, I'm going to right-click, and you don't need to do this, so you can if you want to. Right-click and open with Adobe Illustrator, the SVG. Illustrator is our vector program. We're going to be learning this to make our own logos and our own type design. But for now, we're just using it to